Hello there, and welcome to the Dozing Explorer. I'm so glad you have found your way to this quiet space tonight. Find a comfortable position and let the edges of your day begin to soften and dissolve. There is nothing you need to do now but rest. Tonight, we will not be exploring a world that is, but one that might have been. We will drift down into the deep, silent waters of the ocean and wander through the gentle, hypothetical realm of a real Atlantis. This is not a story of adventure or high drama, but a soft, scientific lullaby, a calm imagining of a lost world, built not on legend, but on the quiet principles of harmony and peace. We will explore its sleeping technologies and its forgotten way of life, letting our minds drift like bioluminescent creatures in the deep. We'll imagine a city that breathes with a soft, internal light, a place where technology and nature were woven into a single, beautiful whole. We'll listen for the faint, resonant hum of a civilization that chose not to conquer the world, but to become a quiet, sleeping part of it, a monument of peaceful wonder preserved in the loving embrace of the deep ocean. And if these gentle wanderings help you find your rest, you might consider subscribing so that others who are searching for a peaceful harbor in the night can drift here too. Your quiet presence is what makes these journeys possible, but for now, all of that can fade away. There is nowhere you need to be and nothing you need to solve. Your only task is to listen, to feel the gentle current of this story, and to allow yourself to sink into a deep and peaceful rest. Let yourself soften as our journey begins. Imagine a deep-sea drone, a small, silent explorer gliding through the absolute darkness miles below the ocean's surface. Its soft lights sweep across the endless, muddy expanse of the abyssal plain. For weeks, the scenery has been the same, a gentle, undulating desert of silt. But then, something different appears on its forward-looking sonar. It is not the sharp, chaotic shape of a volcanic ridge or a shipwreck. It is a faint, impossibly vast geometric outline, the soft shadow of a structure where no structure should ever be. It is a whisper of order in a world of natural chaos, the first hint of a profound and sleeping secret. The first sonar images sent back to the quiet control room are not clear, but they are deeply intriguing. They suggest not the jagged, broken teeth of a natural rock formation, but the soft, eroded corners of ancient, colossal walls. The acoustic pulses paint a picture of something immense and artificial, a structure whose right angles have been worn smooth by thousands of years of deep-sea currents. The scientists watching the screens feel a sense of quiet awe as they realize they are looking at the ghost of a landscape, the first faint outlines of a city that has been lost to memory for longer than all of recorded history. Long before any images are seen, scientists first notice an unusual magnetic anomaly on their deep-sea charts. In a specific, uncharted area of the ocean, the Earth's magnetic field seems to behave strangely. It is not the wild, fluctuating signature of a volcanic deposit, but a calm, organized pattern, a gentle deviation that is too orderly to be natural geology. It is as if a vast, weak magnet is lying dormant on the seafloor, its presence subtly combing the lines of magnetic force into a shape of impossible regularity, a silent and invisible beacon that has been broadcasting its presence for millennia. A deep ocean current, one of the great slow rivers of the abyss, has been charted by satellites and buoys for years. Its path is predictable, a gentle, meandering flow across the seafloor. But in one area it is found to flow strangely, parting and coming back together as if it were moving around a massive, unseen object. The models predict a straight path, but the reality is a soft, elegant curve. It is this strange, quiet detour in the water's ancient path that first leads researchers to look more closely, to wonder what colossal sleeping obstacle could be powerful enough to gently redirect a river of the deep ocean. Specialized drills pull long cylinders of mud and silt from the seabed miles away from the anomaly. For the most part, these core samples contain the expected record of marine sediment and microscopic fossils. But in one specific layer, dating back roughly 12,000 years, scientists discover something that does not belong. They find microscopic flecks of a golden red alloy, a metal that does not match any known element or natural combination. These tiny, shining particles, scattered like dust, are the first physical evidence of a lost technology, a whisper of an advanced metallurgy that has been resting in the mud, waiting patiently to be found. The discovery of this sleeping city is not a sudden shout of "Eureka!" in a crowded room. It is a slow, dawning realization that unfolds over months in the quiet, hushed environment of a deep-sea research lab. It is a series of small, strange clues, each one adding to a picture of impossible wonder. It is a scientist noticing a strange curve in a current, another finding a fleck of unknown metal, and a third seeing a soft, geometric shadow on a sonar screen. It is a secret that grows slowly, a profound and beautiful truth that reveals itself not in a flash, but as a gentle, spreading light in the minds of a few quiet observers. The location of the city is not where the old legends suggested. It is not in the Atlantic beyond the Pillars of Hercules, but is hidden far away beneath the accumulated silt of a forgotten undersea river delta in a different ocean. The legends, it seems, were a distorted memory, a story that had lost its true location as it was passed down through countless generations. The city did not want to be easily found. It rests in a place of deep quiet, a place no one ever thought to look, protected not by myths but by the simple, gentle, and absolute remoteness of the abyssal deep. The first, clear, high-resolution images reveal a breathtaking sight. The city is indeed laid out in great concentric circles, just as the ancient stories described, but the circles are not made of stone. They are fashioned from a coral-encrusted metallic substance that still, after 12 millennia, faintly glimmers with a soft, coppery light. The images show vast, sweeping boulevards and graceful, towering structures, all arranged in a pattern of perfect, harmonious geometry. It is a sight of such impossible beauty and scale that it seems more like a dream than a discovery. Specialized seismic sensors, placed on the seafloor to detect the faint tremors of distant earthquakes, pick up an unexpected signal from the site. It is not the sharp, sudden jolt of a tectonic shift, but a continuous, incredibly low-frequency hum. It is a sound so deep it is almost below the threshold of hearing, a vibration that seems to emanate from the very foundations of the sunken city. It is as though some part of its ancient machinery, some deep and central power source, is still dormant but active, peacefully humming to itself in a sleep that has lasted for ages. The chemistry of the water in the immediate vicinity of the sunken city is subtly different from the surrounding ocean. Sensitive instruments detect trace elements, minute quantities of platinum, gold, and other noble metals held in a strange suspension as if they are slowly and gently leaching from the city's structures. The concentrations are tiny, but they point to an advanced and unknown form of metallurgy, a process that could create alloys of incredible resilience. The city is quietly breathing its own unique chemistry into the deep, a faint and ghostly signature of its lost technological mastery. In the absolute darkness of the abyss, life has found a way to illuminate the past. The bioluminescent creatures of the deep, the small, moving lights in the endless night, seem to congregate along specific pathways within the sunken city. They trace the outlines of the old boulevards, they cluster around the bases of the great towers, and they swirl in the open spaces of the grand plazas. It is as if they are drawn to a faint, residual energy, and their gentle, moving light paints a living map of the sleeping city in the dark, a city of soft, silent ever-shifting starlight. The first physical object brought back to the surface is not a grand statue or a piece of machinery, but a single, small, smooth tile recovered by a submersible's gentle robotic arm. In the lab, it reveals itself to be a profound mystery. It is impossibly lightweight, almost buoyant, yet it is stronger than any known ceramic. And most strangely, it is always faintly warm to the touch, radiating a gentle, constant heat that seems to have no source. It is a small piece of a very great puzzle, a tangible fragment of a technology that operated on principles we are only just beginning to imagine. For decades, oceanographers had mapped a large, unusual seamount in this area, a broad, sloping undersea mountain that rose from the abyssal plain. They had assumed it was a dormant volcano, but with the new detailed scans, the truth is revealed. The seamount is not a natural formation. It is, in fact, the great central mountain of a sunken island, the very peak described in the ancient legends. The city was built upon its gentle slopes, and the mountain itself was the heart of a land that is now entirely submerged, a lost continent in miniature, sleeping under a blanket of ocean. The pressure at the depth where the city rests is immense, thousands of pounds per square inch. It is a force that should have crushed any structure, grinding it into dust over the millennia. Yet the main towers and domes of the city, while eroded, remain strangely and beautifully intact. There is no sign of implosion or structural failure. This suggests that the city is protected by something more than just strong materials. It hints at a technology that is still active, a system that is gently and silently pushing back against the weight of the ocean, preserving the city in a delicate, invisible cradle of force. As the first manned submersibles approach the city's outer perimeter, their instruments detect something extraordinary. The city is protected by a faint, shimmering energy field, a bubble of force that is almost completely transparent and undetectable from a distance. The field is not a hard barrier, but a soft, permeable one. It seems to slow and calm the deep sea currents, creating a pocket of profound stillness around the city. It is an ancient and incredibly advanced defensive screen, one that has been silently protecting the sleeping metropolis for 12,000 years. This lost and ancient place is not silent. Highly sensitive hydrophones, trailing from the research vessel on the surface, pick up a strange and beautiful sound emanating from the ruins. It is a series of soft, melodic chimes, like a wind chime playing in a gentle breeze where there is no wind. The tones are perfectly clear and seem to have no specific source, but rather to resonate from the very fabric of the city itself. They repeat in a long, slow, complex pattern, a peaceful, mechanical lullaby that has been playing to the darkness for ages. Detailed scans of the city's foundations reveal another impossible truth. The city's not simply built on the seafloor. It seems to be anchored to it by vast, deep pylons that descend miles into the Earth's crust. It is as if the city was not just a collection of buildings, but a single, colossal machine deeply integrated with the geology of the planet itself. This profound connection may be the source of its power and the reason for its incredible longevity. A city rooted not just in stone, but in the very heart of the world. The behavior of the marine life around the city is peculiar. In the harsh, competitive world of the deep ocean, the creatures here are unusually calm and non-aggressive. Schools of strange, translucent fish drift slowly through the grand boulevards. Giant, ancient squid rest peacefully in the open plazas. There is a palpable aura of tranquility that seems to soothe the wild nature of the abyss. It is as if the gentle, harmonic frequency of the city is a constant calming presence, a lullaby that has pacified the surrounding waters for thousands of years. As cartographers map the layout of the city's grand canals and waterways, an astronomer on the research team notices a startling correlation. The pattern of the concentric circles and the radial canals is not random. It is a perfect, large-scale map of the constellations of the northern sky, but not as they appear today. It is a map of the heavens, as they would have appeared precisely 12,000 years ago. The city is a celestial clock, its very design a beautiful and permanent record of the time when it made its gentle descent into the sea. The knowledge of this discovery is not released to a clamoring world. It is kept quiet, a shared secret among the small, international team of scientists who found it. They recognize that this is a wonder too great, too profound, to be rushed into the light. It is something that must be approached with reverence and with patience. They choose to study it slowly, to listen to its quiet chimes and to understand its gentle presence before sharing the story of the sleeping city with the rest of humanity. It is a secret held in a state of collective, peaceful awe. The walls of the great Atlantean buildings are a wonder of engineering. They are not made of individual blocks or bricks, but seem to be a single, continuous substance. Close-up analysis suggests they were not built, but were grown, perhaps through a process of controlled crystallization without a single seam or joint. They flow in graceful, organic curves, their surfaces smooth and cool to the touch. They are monuments to a form of construction that was more like gardening than building, a technology that coaxed minerals to grow into shapes of perfect strength and beauty. Even after 12,000 years in absolute darkness, a soft, internal light still pulses faintly from the walls of the city. It is a gentle, pearlescent glow that seems to come from deep within the crystalline material. The light waxes and wanes in a slow, steady rhythm, like a deep and sleeping breath. It is powered by a source that has not failed in millennia, a technology of such longevity that it defies our understanding. The city is not a dead ruin. It is a dormant body still faintly illuminated by the last embers of its ancient, living light. The beautiful, rose-gold metal that adorns the city's towers and bridges is the legendary orichalcum. Chemical analysis reveals it to be an impossibly complex alloy of platinum, gold, and an unknown transuranic element. Its most remarkable property is that it does not corrode. After 12,000 years submerged in salt water, it shows no sign of rust or decay, its surface still gleaming with a soft, warm luster wherever the coral has not yet grown. It is a metal that seems to have conquered the relentless chemistry of time and water. The orichalcum of the city seems to be more than just a simple metal. Microscopic analysis shows that its crystalline structure is subtly different on surfaces exposed to the deep-sea currents. It appears to be a smart material, one that can slowly and gently adapt its own texture at a molecular level to minimize the friction of the flowing water, thereby preventing erosion. It is a technology that learns from its environment, a metal that is not just enduring, but is actively and patiently preserving itself. At the very heart of the city, in the central mountain, lies the city's power source. It is a colossal, single crystal, hundreds of feet high, that glows with a soft, steady, blue-white light. Scans reveal that it draws its energy directly from the Earth's own geothermal heat, pulling the warmth from the planet's core up through the pylons that anchor the city. It is a perfect, clean energy system, a silent and motionless engine that has been powering the city's faint glow and its protective shields for over 100 centuries. The great central crystal is not hot, as one might expect from a geothermal generator. In fact, probes show that its surface is cool to the touch. The crystal operates on a principle of resonance, not combustion. It converts heat directly into light and a gentle, vibratory energy that permeates the entire city. It is a technology of perfect efficiency, with no waste, no heat, and no noise, just a silent, cool, and beautiful transformation of the planet's inner warmth into the city's eternal, sleeping life force. The Atlanteans, it seems, did not use wheels for transport. The city is designed not with roads, but with a complex network of wide, smooth canals. These were their boulevards and avenues. Studies of the canals reveal a remarkable technology. They were not filled with simple, flowing water. They were silent, frictionless channels where the water itself was engineered to carry people and goods with effortless grace. It was a transportation system as quiet and peaceful as the city itself. The canals that connect the different levels of the city appear to defy gravity, flowing gently uphill without any visible means of propulsion. The secret seems to lie in the canal beds, which are lined with a material that could emit precisely tuned sonic frequencies. These sound waves would subtly alter the surface tension of the water, creating a flowing, levitating current that could carry vessels and cargo gently upwards. It was a technology that used the gentle power of sound to make water flow in ways that seem magical to us. As explorers wander the city in their submersibles, they notice a distinct architectural style. There are no sharp corners or hard angles in Atlantean buildings. Every surface is curved and smooth, every doorway is an arch, and every building flows into the next with an organic grace. The city was clearly designed to live in harmony with the natural flow of air and water, to present no resistance to its environment. It is an architecture of acceptance, a city built to be a seamless part of the world, not to stand against it. The great buildings of Atlantis have what appear to be windows, but they are not made of glass. They are large, perfectly clear panes of a crystalline substance. Scans suggest that these were not simple, transparent openings. They could be tuned, like a screen, to filter the light, or perhaps even to show images. It is believed they could show the real sky as it was above the waves, day or night, or perhaps even scenes from the city's past, stored in the crystal's memory. They were not just windows to the outside, but perhaps windows to all of time. The Atlanteans practiced a form of gentle, advanced genetics, not on animals, but on plants. They could coax and guide the growth of certain plant species into luminous architectural forms. The graceful, arching bridges that connect the city's rings are not made of metal, but of a living, wood-like substance that was grown into its perfect shape. The parks of the city are filled with trees that were encouraged to grow into beautiful, habitable structures, a perfect fusion of nature and architecture. The public spaces of the city are not lit by lamps, but are adorned with vast, beautiful parks of bioluminescent coral. This was not natural coral, but was a species bred by the Atlanteans to emit a soft, calming light in a variety of shifting, gentle colors. These living gardens of light would have illuminated the city at night with a magical, ever-changing glow, a light that was both beautiful and alive. It was a city lit not by fire, but by the quiet, gentle pulse of living things. The communication technology of the city was one of light and crystal. Instead of wires, they used a network of solid, crystalline conduits that ran beneath the streets like fiber optic cables. They could transmit information by sending focused beams of modulated light through these conduits. It was a system of perfect clarity with no interference and no loss of signal. A message of light sent from one side of the city would arrive at the other with the pristine purity of a sunbeam. Perhaps the most astonishing technology was their method of storing information. The Atlanteans had discovered that the complex molecular structure of water could be arranged and polarized to hold vast amounts of data. Their great libraries were not filled with books, but were vast, silent pools of perfectly still water. By passing a beam of light through the water, they could read the information stored within its very structure. They had learned to write their history and their science onto the most abundant substance in their world. The tools of the Atlanteans were not mechanical, but sonic. They could cut and shape the hardest stone and the strongest metal with precisely focused vibrations. A small, handheld device could emit a harmonic frequency that would cause stone to part as if it were soft clay or cause metal to take on a new shape without any heat or force. There was no sound of grinding or hammering in their workshops, only a series of quiet musical hums as objects were gently persuaded into their desired form. They had achieved a subtle mastery over gravity. While most of the city rests on the mountainside, certain smaller districts and beautiful garden pavilions float freely, tethered by shimmering bridges of light. They seem to have created zones of localized gravitational lensing, allowing colossal structures to float as effortlessly as clouds. It was a technology that allowed them to build not just on the land, but in the very air and water around them, creating a city of three-dimensional grace. Their entire understanding of physics was based not on force and mechanics, but on the principles of resonance and harmony. They believed that everything in the universe, from the smallest atom to the largest star, had a unique vibrational frequency. Their technology was the art of understanding these frequencies and gently encouraging them to work together in a harmonious way. They did not seek to conquer nature with force, but to join in its universal song. The entire city seems to sing at a very low, almost imperceptible frequency. This harmonic resonance broadcast from the central crystal is not just a byproduct of their power source. It appears to be intentional. Studies on marine life suggest that this frequency has a profound calming and healing effect, promoting cellular regeneration and a deep sense of tranquility. The city itself was a therapeutic instrument, a place designed to maintain the physical and emotional well-being of its inhabitants through a constant, gentle song. Explorers find no evidence of weapons anywhere in the city. There are no fortifications, no armories, no signs of conflict. It seems their only form of defense was the great energy shield that still surrounds the city. Studies suggest this shield was not designed to destroy, but to gently dematerialize any object or energy that approached the city with a hostile intent or a discordant frequency. It was a defense system that answered aggression, not with violence, but with a quiet and absolute negation. A small robotic probe manages to enter one of the smaller, perfectly sealed domes. The atmosphere inside, remarkably preserved, is analyzed. It is slightly richer in oxygen than our own air and contains trace gases that give it a faint, pleasant scent, like the air after a thunderstorm with a hint of wet stone. To breathe the air of Atlantis would have been to breathe a cleaner, more vibrant, and more calming atmosphere than any we know today. Even in the deep, sunless world of the abyss, the Atlanteans had found a way to cultivate lush gardens. They used smaller, attuned crystals, which glowed with the precise frequencies of light needed for photosynthesis to nurture vast underwater farms of specialized sea kelp and algae. These beautiful glowing gardens provided them with all the food, medicine, and raw materials they needed, a completely self-sustaining system of deep ocean agriculture. The art of the Atlanteans was not static. They did not paint on canvas or sculpt from stone. Their art was made of living, shifting patterns of light and sound. In their grand halls, they would create what could only be described as symphonies of light, using their crystal technology to project three-dimensional, holographic forms that would dance and flow in time with complex harmonic music. It was an art form that was as alive and dynamic as the city itself. Among the recordings found in their liquid libraries is a fascinating discovery: instruments that could translate the complex vocalizations of whales and dolphins into a form of visual, mathematical poetry. They did not just study the creatures of the sea, they communicated with them as equals. They saw the great whales as the planet's historians, the keepers of a deep, ancient memory, and their songs as epic poems of immense complexity and wisdom. Textiles found preserved in a sealed chamber are woven from a material that feels like the softest silk, but has incredible properties. Analysis shows it is sea silk cultivated from a species of giant clam. The fabric is active, able to change its color and its thermal properties based on the wearer's body temperature, and even their emotional state. It was clothing that was not just beautiful, but was a responsive and intelligent second skin. The city of Atlantis was not a collection of individual technologies. It was their greatest machine, a single, vast, integrated and semi-sentient system designed for one purpose: to create and maintain a state of perfect, peaceful, and harmonious existence. The power, the transport, the food, the libraries, they were all interconnected, all part of a single, living, technological ecosystem. The city itself was alive. The Atlanteans viewed themselves not as masters of the natural world, but as its humble students and devoted partners. Their science and their spirituality were one and the same, a deep and reverent observation of the patterns and rhythms of the universe. They believed that nature was the greatest teacher, and that technology should not be a tool to dominate it, but a means to achieve a deeper and more perfect harmony with it. The society of Atlantis was structured not like a pyramid, with rulers at the top, but like the design of their city itself, a series of concentric circles of shared purpose and responsibility. Power was not concentrated in the hands of a few, but was a distributed resonance that flowed through the entire community. Every individual was seen as a vital and necessary part of a greater, harmonious whole. Their structure was a reflection of their belief in equality and unity. They did not seem to have a concept of personal ownership as we do. The city's resources, its energy, its food, its knowledge were cared for in common for the good of all. The idea of one person owning a piece of the city or its technology would have been as strange to them as the idea of owning the sea or the sky. They were stewards, not owners, of the beautiful world they had created. Their long and detailed histories were not written in books of ink and paper. They were encoded into the very genetic structure and growth patterns of ancient, colossal, bioluminescent trees that filled the city's central park. To read their history, one would simply touch the tree and enter a state of deep, meditative empathy, and the tree would share its living memories. Their past was not a dead record, but a living, breathing part of their present. Children in Atlantis were not educated through the memorization of facts. They were taught through a process of direct, experiential learning. A child would learn biology not from a book, but by being guided into a state of deep, meditative empathy with a plant or an animal to feel and understand its life from within. Their education was a cultivation of a profound and compassionate connection with all of existence. They communicated in a language of incredible complexity and beauty. It was only partly made of spoken words. The rest of the meaning was conveyed through tonal harmonies, like music, and through the projection of soft, colored patterns of light from a specialized organ on their foreheads. To have a conversation with an Atlantean would have been to experience a symphony of sound, color, and meaning all at once. The leaders of the city were not kings, politicians, or generals. They were known as resonators. These were not individuals who held power, but were men and women who, through long practice and natural aptitude, were most perfectly in tune with the harmonic needs of the city and the planet. Their role was not to command, but to listen deeply and to gently guide the city's resonance to maintain a state of perfect balance and peace. The Atlanteans measured the passage of time in a different way. They did not have clocks that ticked off seconds and hours. Their sense of time was tied to the slow, predictable and grand cycles of the world around them. Their days were measured by the turning of the tides, their years by the slow procession of the stars, and their ages by the great glacial rhythm of the deep ocean currents. They lived their lives in sync with the deep, slow pulse of the planet. The primary and collective pursuit of the Atlantean civilization was not the acquisition of wealth or the expansion of power. It was simply understanding. Their entire society was geared towards a quiet, joyful, and collective quest for knowledge, a desire to understand the universe, their planet, and their own consciousness more deeply. For them, The greatest possible pleasure was a new and beautiful insight into the harmonious workings of reality. The Atlanteans held a belief that was fundamental to their entire civilization. They believed that consciousness was not a rare and accidental spark, generated only within the confines of a biological brain. Instead, they saw it as a universal property, a gentle light that permeates all of existence. To them, the ocean was conscious, the planet was conscious, and the stars themselves were part of a vast cosmic awareness. Their science was not the study of dead matter, but a joyful participation in a living, thinking universe. This belief shaped their gentle technology and their harmonious society, for they saw every part of their world not as an object to be used, but as a fellow consciousness to be understood and respected. Their medicine was a practice of profound gentleness and harmony. They did not see illness as an enemy to be attacked, but as a part of the body that had forgotten its natural song, a note that had fallen out of tune with the whole. Their healers were not warriors, but were skilled resonators. Using precisely tuned sonic frequencies and fields of light, they would gently coax the disharmonious cells, reminding them of their correct, healthy vibration. It was a medicine of persuasion, not force, a process of gently and lovingly reminding the body of its own innate perfection and its connection to the harmonious song of the universe. They held a deep and profound reverence for the state of sleep. They did not see it as a period of inactivity or unconsciousness, but as a time of vital connection and learning. They believed that in the deep, dreamless state of sleep, individual consciousness would gently dissolve back into the great, collective consciousness of the city, the ocean, and the planet. It was a time to share insights, to resolve communal harmonies, and to learn from the deep, slow wisdom of the earth itself. Sleep was their most sacred ritual, a nightly pilgrimage into the quiet, unified heart of all things. Their homes reflected their communal and open nature. They did not live in private, walled-off fortresses. An Atlantean home was a series of flowing, open spaces with curved walls and gardens of living light. Boundaries between homes were soft and permeable, often consisting of little more than gentle waterfalls or veils of softly glowing moss. Privacy was respected, but the overall design encouraged a gentle, flowing interaction between individuals and families. Their homes were not boxes to contain people, but were beautiful, open structures designed to encourage the harmonious flow of both water and community. For millennia, the Atlanteans had cultivated a deep, symbiotic relationship with the great cetaceans of the sea. They saw the dolphins and whales not as animals to be studied, but as fellow citizens of the ocean, beings of profound intelligence and ancient memory. Using their resonant technologies, they could communicate with them freely, sharing thoughts, songs, and stories. The whales were the planet's historians, and the dolphins were its joyful philosophers. This constant, gentle dialogue with the other great minds of the ocean was a cornerstone of Atlantean culture, a source of immense wisdom and deep, abiding friendship. In a society built on harmony, conflict was a rare and gentle thing. When disagreements arose, they were not resolved through argument or debate. Instead, the individuals involved would enter a shared meditative space, often guided by a resonator. In this state of deep, collective quiet, they would simply hold the problem in their shared awareness without judgment. In the stillness, a solution would eventually and naturally arise, one that was not a compromise but a new and more beautiful harmony that could not have been seen from their individual perspectives. Conflict was seen as an opportunity for growth, a chance to find a more perfect resonance. The Atlanteans did not seem to age in the same way we do. Their bodies, sustained by the city's harmonious frequencies and their deep connection to the living world, remained vibrant and healthy for many centuries. Aging for them was not a process of decay, but a slow and graceful transition. After 1,000 years or more, an Atlantean would choose to let go of their physical form. Their consciousness gently dissolving from their body to become a being of pure, resonant energy, a part of the city's living light. It was a journey from form into formlessness, a natural and beautiful evolution. Their greatest and most cherished art form was the collaborative creation of dreamscapes. Using their crystal technology to link their minds as they slept, groups of Atlanteans would build shared lucid dreams. These were not just fantasies, but were worlds of incredible detail, beauty, and emotional depth. They would build shimmering cities of light, compose symphonies of impossible sound, and explore landscapes of pure, joyful imagination. These shared dreams were their paintings, their novels, and their films, an art form that was as ephemeral and as beautiful as life itself. They did not fear the concept of death. In their understanding, nothing was ever truly lost. They saw death as a simple and peaceful change in frequency, a gentle release of individual consciousness back into the great, universal ocean of awareness from which it first came. It was not an ending, but a return. This belief permeated their culture with a profound sense of peace, removing the fear and anxiety that can so often shadow a civilization. To them, life and death were simply two different notes in the same beautiful, eternal song. The daily life of an Atlantean was a slow, graceful, and intentional rhythm. It was a beautiful dance between deep personal reflection and joyful communal activity. A day might begin with a silent solo meditation connecting with the song of the city. This might be followed by a collaborative project, perhaps tending to the glowing coral gardens or composing a new dreamscape with friends. The pace of life was unhurried, gentle, and deeply fulfilling. There was no stress, no rush, only the calm and steady flow of a life lived in perfect harmony with oneself, one's community, and one's world. At the very core of their philosophy was the belief that the earth itself was a single, vast, living and conscious being. They saw the oceans as its circulatory system, the forests as its lungs, and the deep, geothermal heat as the beating of its heart. Their city, Atlantis, was not built to be separate from this being, but to be a symbiotic organ, a place of high consciousness that lived in a perfect and respectful relationship with the greater planetary consciousness. They did not live on the world, they lived with it. The population of their great island city was always stable. They did not seek to expand or to multiply their numbers endlessly. Through a deep understanding of their environment and themselves, they chose to harmonize their population with the gentle carrying capacity of their island. New life was a cherished and intentional act, ensuring that every citizen who was born could be cared for and could live a life of fulfillment without placing an undue burden on the living world that sustained them. In their quest for understanding, the Atlanteans valued questions far more than they valued answers. An answer, to them, was often an end to a journey, a place where curiosity could rest and grow quiet. A good question, however, was a beginning, a doorway into a new and more wonderful mystery. Their libraries of knowledge were structured not as a series of facts, but as a series of beautiful, ever-deepening questions. Their goal was not to know everything, but to be in a constant and joyful state of learning. Their connection to the ocean that surrounded them was so deep and so intimate that it was almost a sixth sense. They could feel the subtle shifts in pressure and temperature that signaled a coming storm, days before it would arrive. They could sense the deep, slow movements of the tectonic plates beneath them. They were a part of the ocean's consciousness, and it was a part of theirs. The sea was not just their home. It was their larger collective body, an extension of their own awareness, their defining collective emotion. The very atmosphere of their civilization was a state of profound and peaceful wonder. It was a gentle, continuous awe at the beauty and intricacy of existence. This feeling was not a fleeting peak experience, but was the steady, resonant baseline of their entire culture. They lived their long lives in a state of constant, quiet gratitude for the privilege of being a conscious part of a beautiful, mysterious, and harmonious universe. When the time came for their great change, they chose to preserve their city in the deep ocean rather than attempt to conquer or colonize the rest of the world. Their probes had shown them that the other human cultures of the time were based on principles of fear, conflict, and disharmony. To impose their ways would have been a violation of their deepest beliefs, so they chose a different path, a path of quiet retreat and patient preservation, a decision to become a silent, sleeping memory rather than an empire. The end of Atlantis came not as a sudden and violent surprise, but as a long-foreseen and gentle event, a natural cycle of the Earth. Their deep geological understanding showed them that the tectonic plate on which their island sat was beginning a long, slow period of subsidence. They knew centuries in advance that their beautiful home was destined to sink beneath the waves. It was not a tragedy to be feared, but a destiny to be gracefully accepted. This knowledge of their world's inevitable end was not a punishment from the heavens, but a simple geological inevitability. The great, slow dance of the continents, the constant shifting of the planet's crust, had decreed that this particular piece of land was to be reclaimed by the sea. The Atlanteans accepted this with a profound sense of peace, seeing it as a natural and necessary part of the planet's long, slow life. Their home had been a gift from the ocean, and now the ocean was asking for it back. The people of Atlantis did not panic or despair. With the calm and quiet purpose that defined their culture, they began to prepare for their departure. They spent their final centuries not in frantic attempts to save their island, but in perfecting the technologies that would preserve their city and its vast libraries of knowledge. Their final greatest project was not to escape their fate, but to transform it into a work of timeless, peaceful art. The sinking of the city was not a chaotic cataclysm, but a slow, deliberate, and perfectly controlled process, guided by their own incredible technology over the course of a single, long day. Using their mastery of gravity and resonance, they gently and precisely lowered their entire island home into the abyss. It was a feat of engineering on a planetary scale, an act of such profound skill and grace that it was more like a ballet than a disaster. As the island began its descent, they activated the great energy shields. A series of nested, shimmering domes of force enveloped the entire city, designed to protect it from the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. These shields would create a pocket of timeless preservation, a sanctuary where their beautiful city could sleep, undisturbed, for untold millennia. The shields were not just for protection, but were a vessel for a long and quiet journey through time. As the sunlit water of the surface rose up the flanks of the central mountain, the city's own internal light grew brighter. It was a beacon of soft, pearlescent light against the encroaching blue darkness of the sea. The Atlanteans did not see this as a final sunset, but as a new and different kind of dawn. They watched as their world was lovingly and gently embraced by the ocean, the water that had always been their friend and partner, the citizens of Atlantis. Their final work complete, gathered in the great central plaza of the city. There was no fear, no sadness, only a profound sense of peace and completion. As their island sank into its final, deep resting place, they stood together in a final, silent, communal meditation. They joined their minds as one, a single, unified field of consciousness, ready for the final, beautiful transformation. They did not drown in the rising waters. In the final moments, as the last of their island slipped beneath the waves, they simply and willingly allowed their physical forms to dissolve. Their individual consciousness, their memories, and their personalities gently departed from their bodies and merged into the vast, luminous matrix of the city's central crystal. They became one with their city, their collective spirit preserved forever in a prison of light. The last thing the collective consciousness of Atlantis saw was not the end of their world, but its glorious transformation into a timeless monument. They saw their city, glowing with their own combined life force, settle peacefully onto the seafloor, its shields humming softly. They saw the deep-sea creatures approach with curiosity, not fear. And then they let go, their awareness settling into a deep, dreamless, and peaceful sleep. In the days before the Great Descent, the Atlanteans had said their gentle goodbyes to the other living beings of their island. Using their deep connection with the cetaceans, they guided all of the land animals to safe harbors on other continents. The dolphins and whales, their faithful friends, carried this living cargo on a great and peaceful exodus. When Atlantis finally sank, it was an island of only the city and its people, ensuring that no innocent life was lost in its transformation. The descent itself was profoundly quiet. There was no grinding of rock, no violent shudder of the earth. Cushioned by their own gravitational technology, the entire island sank into the abyss as gently as a falling leaf. It was a journey of a few hours, a slow and graceful sinking from the world of light and air into the world of darkness, pressure, and profound, eternal stillness. When future explorers would finally find this place, they would discover a city with no bodies, no skeletons, no signs of struggle or panic. They would find only a perfectly preserved and peaceful city, a place that looked as though its inhabitants had simply stepped away a moment ago. The absence of death would be the greatest mystery, a clue to a transformation so profound it was beyond our normal understanding of life and extinction. There is a reason that all of humanity, in every culture, has a deep and innate connection to music, rhythm, and harmony. It is a form of deep, cellular memory, a legacy from a time when our distant ancestors were more in tune with the resonant frequencies of the planet, and the purest form of that resonance was the way of life in Atlantis. Our desire to create and listen to music is a subconscious attempt to recreate that feeling of perfect harmony, to build a small, temporary city of sound that gives us a fleeting taste of that lost and peaceful world. The deep, resonant frequencies broadcast by the sleeping city do more than just calm the waters. They travel through the very crust of the earth. This gentle, constant vibration acts as a subtle lubricant for the great tectonic plates, easing the friction between them and allowing stress to be released gently and continuously, rather than building up into catastrophic earthquakes. The relative geological peace of our current era is in part a silent gift from the sleeping guardians of the deep, who have been gently soothing the tensions of the planet for ages. There is a feeling that some people describe as coming home when they are near or in the ocean. It is a sense of being held, of belonging, of a profound and peaceful rightness. This feeling is a real, physical phenomenon. The water in our own bodies, in our very cells, is resonating with the faint, harmonious frequency of the sleeping city, which is broadcast through all the waters of the world. Our inner ocean is recognizing and gently singing along with the ancient song of the great outer ocean. The beautiful logarithmic spiral of a nautilus shell and the perfect fractal geometry of a snowflake are patterns of natural harmony. But the intricate mandala-like patterns found on certain deep-sea seashells are a more direct form of biological response. The larvae of these creatures, as they form their shells, are influenced by the city's gentle, coherent, and geometric energy field. Their shells are a physical record, a beautiful, stony diagram of the invisible field of peace that permeates the deep ocean. The Great Pyramid of Giza, with its precise angles and mysterious resonance chambers, has long been a source of wonder. It was perhaps an early and primitive attempt by a descendant culture, a group of survivors or students of Atlantis, to build a resonant device like the city's great central crystal. They had lost the true science, the ability to grow the crystal, but they retained a memory of its power and its shape, and they tried to replicate it with the best tools they had: stone, mathematics, and a deep ancestral memory of a lost harmony. The story of a great flood, which is found in almost every ancient culture, is a powerful and persistent myth. This shared story is the fragmented human-scale memory of the massive sea level rise that occurred at the end of the last ice age, a time of immense global change. This was the very same event that marked the time of Atlantis's great descent. The story of the flood is the story of their world vanishing, but told from the perspective of those who were left behind on the shores of a new and rising ocean. The legend of El Dorado, the lost city of gold, is another of the world's great misplaced memories. The story tells of a king who would cover himself in gold dust and a city of fabulous wealth. This is a distorted echo of the truth of Atlantis. The gold was the beautiful rose gold gleam of orichalcum, and the wealth was not material, but was the city's profound richness of wisdom, peace, and harmony. The legend remembered the beautiful color, but had forgotten its true and deeper meaning. Sailors throughout history have told stories of being lost in a fog or a storm, only to be guided to safety by a playful pod of dolphins who seem to know exactly where to lead them. This is not just a coincidence. The dolphins, with their deep connection to the ocean's song, can sometimes feel the subconscious, gentle guidance of the sleeping city. Atlantis, even in its dreams, is a guardian of the sea, and it sometimes uses its oldest friends to guide those in need towards a safe harbor. Our modern fascination with crystals, with their purported healing properties and their use in our technologies, is a faint and unconscious echo of a lost and forgotten science. We sense on an intuitive level that these beautiful geometric stones hold a certain power, a certain resonance. This intuition is a deep, cellular memory of the Atlantean age, a time when the power of crystals was a fully understood and perfectly applied science, a science that could power a city and harmonize a civilization. The deep, abyssal plain of the ocean, far from the light of the sun, should be a place of relentless competitive survival. But in the vast area around the sleeping city, it is a realm of profound and unnatural peace. This calmness is, in part, a manufactured peace, an aura of tranquility that is actively and constantly projected by the city's harmonic resonator. The city, even in its sleep, is still performing its primary function, to create a space of deep and abiding harmony. The periodic and tragic mass strandings of whales and dolphins have long been a mystery. While there are many contributing factors, one may be a disruption in their ancient connection to the city's song. A powerful solar flare, for instance, can temporarily disrupt the Earth's magnetic field and the subtle energies within the ocean. This can act like static, deafening the whales to the gentle, navigational hum of Atlantis, leaving them confused, disoriented and lost, their internal compass suddenly silent. The deep, innate, and almost universal human desire to explore the stars, to look up at the night sky and wonder what is out there, is a faint and beautiful echo of the Atlantean spirit. Their primary drive was to understand everything, from the smallest microbe to the largest galaxy. Our own quest for knowledge, our science, and our art are a continuation of their gentle and noble pursuit. The desire to explore is a spark of Atlantis that still burns within the human heart. The city, resting in the deep, is not just a ruin to be studied. It is a living library and a sleeping teacher. Its knowledge is not in the past tense. It is a dynamic, conscious system that is waiting patiently for a time when humanity, on the surface, has become quiet and harmonious enough to be a student once more. It is not a relic to be excavated, but a sage to be consulted, a wisdom that is waiting for us to ask the right questions. The strange and unique properties of water, its ability to hold a memory of substances diluted within it, is not a fringe theory, but is a property that was discovered and enhanced by the Atlanteans. They developed the technology to polarize the molecular clusters in water, turning it into a perfect medium for storing information. The liquid libraries of the city are the ultimate expression of this lost science, a science that saw water not as a simple solvent, but as a living liquid crystal. Certain blue holes found in the world's oceans, deep, perfectly circular abysses that plunge into the darkness, are ancient, flooded Atlantean wells. These were not wells for water, but were deep shafts drilled to access geothermal energy and to act as secondary resonators for the city. They still emit a faint, almost undetectable harmonic frequency, a subtle pulse that can be felt by sensitive marine life, which is often drawn to these deep, blue, and mysterious places. The ancient and widespread myth of a world turtle, a colossal being that carries the earth on its back, is a deeply distorted memory of Atlantis. The city, with its living organic technology and its ability to subtly shift its position, was perceived by more primitive neighboring cultures as a single, vast, living island. The story of a gentle, world-bearing creature is a beautiful, if mistaken, attempt to describe a technology that was so advanced and so in harmony with nature that it appeared to be alive. The universal human emotional response to the color blue, the sense of calmness, stability, and peace it evokes, is tied to our deepest ancestral memories of Atlantis. The soft, internal light of the city was a gentle, luminous blue. The light that filtered through the great energy domes as the city sank was a deep, ethereal blue. Our subconscious minds have equated this color with the feeling of perfect harmony and safety. It is the color of our lost, peaceful home. The Ring of Fire, the geologically active region that encircles the Pacific Ocean, is a place of immense tectonic stress. Its volcanic and seismic activity, however, is partially moderated by the deep, resonant hum of the sleeping city. Atlantis acts like a planetary-scale shock absorber, its gentle vibrations helping to dissipate stress along the fault lines slowly and continuously, preventing even more frequent and more powerful geological events. It is a quiet guardian against the planet's own fiery internal pressures. The final conscious act of the newly unified Atlantean mind was to tune the city's great harmonic resonator to a very low, gentle, sleep frequency. This soft, resonant hum was designed to minimize the city's energy consumption, to calm the surrounding waters, and to lull the city's own consciousness into a state of deep and dreamless dormancy. It was the sound of a civilization gently closing its eyes. This harmonic frequency, this gentle, resonant hum, has been pulsing quietly in the deep ocean for 12,000 years. It is a song of such a low frequency that it can travel for thousands of miles through the water. It has been a constant, calming presence in the deep, a subtle vibration of peace that has soothed the heart of the ocean for longer than all of human civilization has existed. It is the quiet, sleeping breath of the lost city. The story of Atlantis, as told by Plato, was not a direct history. It was a fragmented, distant echo of the truth, a story passed down through countless generations of sailors and mystics from a time when the world was in chaos after the end of the Ice Age. The details were confused, the location was lost, but the core of the story remained, a memory of a great, wise and powerful civilization that had vanished into the sea. It was a myth with a true and quiet heart. The cataclysm that ended the Atlantean Age was not a tragedy, but was their final and greatest act of harmony. It was a conscious and willing choice to become one with the ocean they loved, to transform their physical reality into a timeless spiritual ideal. They did not see it as an end, but as a transfiguration, a way to preserve their peaceful wisdom in a form that could endure for ages, safe from the turbulent, disharmonious world on the surface. The great central crystal, glowing softly in the heart of the sleeping city, is now more than a power source. It is a vessel. It holds the combined consciousness, the memories, the wisdom, and the love of every single being who was part of the Atlantean civilization. It is a living library of souls, a silent, unified mind that is not dead, but is dreaming a single 12,000-year-long dream of perfect, unbroken peace. And so the city of Atlantis did not die in the sea. It did not perish in a flood. It simply and gracefully went to sleep. It is a dormant civilization, a seed of wisdom planted in the deepest, safest garden on Earth, waiting patiently for a future time when the world on the surface might be ready to listen to its quiet, gentle song. It is a promise, preserved in the cold and the dark. Their vast, liquid libraries, the pools of water that held their knowledge, were perfectly preserved. As the city sank, the energy shield sealed them, holding the water within in a state of perfect stasis, its molecular structure locked in place. The knowledge is not degrading or fading, but is held in a state of suspended animation, every fact, every poem, every beautiful question held as clearly as the moment it was first recorded, waiting for a consciousness that knows how to read the language of light and water. They chose this unique fate to become the silent guardians of the ocean's deep and ancient knowledge. They knew that the ocean itself was a great living library, and by merging with it they became its librarians. Their sleeping city is a hub, a focal point of consciousness that helps to preserve and organize the vast, slow, and profound wisdom of the planet's oceans. The strange and mysterious phenomena of the Bermuda Triangle are, in this gentle imagining, connected to the sleeping city. The faint outer edges of the Atlantean energy field are the true source of the mystery. The field is not hostile, but when modern, disharmonious technology, like a compass or a plane's avionics, passes through it, the field gently and harmlessly deactivates it, returning it to a state of inert, natural matter. The disappearances are not crashes, but gentle, silent cessations of function. The long, complex, and beautiful songs of the humpback whales are not random melodies. They are the living history of the world, and the longest and most sacred part of their song is the telling of the story of Atlantis. It is a tale of a peaceful, gentle people who became one with the sea. The whales are the oral historians of the deep, and they have been singing this true and ancient story to the oceans for thousands of years, passing it down from mother to calf. Many people, from all cultures and all times, have had powerful, recurring dreams of flying effortlessly or of walking through beautiful, impossible cities made of light and music. These dreams, in our quiet imagining, are faint but persistent echoes from the sleeping crystal of Atlantis. The dreaming mind, in its open and receptive state, can sometimes tune in to the faint, continuous broadcast of the city's collective consciousness, receiving fragmented, beautiful memories of what it was like to live in a world of perfect harmony. The unique, resonant properties of certain crystals found on the surface of the world are, in this imagining, a faint and distant legacy of Atlantis. Long before their great descent, the Atlanteans had learned to seed the Earth's crust with specific harmonic frequencies. This process subtly altered the crystalline structure of quartz and other minerals in certain locations, imbuing them with a faint echo of the city's own harmonious energy. The gentle, healing properties that people have long ascribed to these crystals are a real, if subtle phenomenon, a forgotten science of resonance gifted to the world long ago. The faint, impossibly deep hum of the sleeping city has a profound and stabilizing effect on the entire planet. This constant, gentle vibration subtly interacts with the Earth's molten core, helping to organize the flow of liquid iron that generates our planet's magnetic field. The surprising stability of our magnetic shield, which protects all life from harmful solar radiation, is in part a quiet gift from the sleeping city. It is a silent, planetary-scale act of guardianship that has continued, unbroken, for thousands of years. The persistent and beautiful legend of Shambhala, or Shangri-La, a hidden kingdom of peace, wisdom, and harmony, nestled in the inaccessible mountains, is another fragmented memory of Atlantis. As the story was passed down through cultures that lived on land, the location of this paradise was moved from its true home in the ocean to a more familiar setting in the high Himalayas. But the essence of the story remains the same, a memory of a place where humanity lived in a state of perfect, enlightened peace, a memory that still calls to the quietest parts of our hearts. From time to time, a scientist working late in a lab or an artist staring at a blank canvas will experience a sudden, inexplicable leap of inspiration. A profound and elegant solution, a beautiful and novel idea, will simply arrive in their mind, fully formed. These moments of genius are not always random. They are sometimes gentle and unintentional broadcasts from the sleeping consciousness in the deep. As the city dreams, it sometimes thinks of a beautiful mathematical theorem or a new and harmonious melody, and these thoughts on rare occasions find a receptive and quiet mind on the surface. There is a feeling that many people experience when they stand by the shore and look out at the vast, deep ocean, a feeling of profound peace, of awe, and of a strange and beautiful melancholy. This deep emotional response is more than just an appreciation of nature. It is a faint, subconscious recognition of the city's presence. The water acts as a conduit for the city's gentle, calming frequency, and our own hearts, which are mostly water, can feel that ancient, peaceful resonance, a feeling like a memory of a home we have never known. Throughout the ancient world, from the patterns on Greek pottery to the mandalas of Tibetan monks, we find the recurring motif of sacred geometry, perfect, harmonious patterns of circles, spirals, and lines. These designs are not just artistic inventions. They are deep, archetypal memories of the architecture of Atlantis. The beautiful, resonant forms of the city were so powerful that they imprinted themselves upon the collective human subconscious, emerging again and again in our art and our spiritual symbols as a faint echo of a lost, perfect blueprint for a harmonious world. In a certain part of the Indian Ocean, sailors have for centuries described a strange and beautiful phenomenon known as the Milky Seas. For miles in every direction, the surface of the ocean will glow with a soft, steady, ethereal light. This is not a reflection, but the water itself emitting a gentle luminescence. The cause is a vast bloom of bioluminescent bacteria, but the trigger for these blooms is a mystery. It is perhaps a periodic energy pulse from the sleeping city, a slight increase in its hum that awakens and excites these tiny living lights, turning the ocean into a vast, glowing testament to the city's continued, quiet presence. The strange, powerful, and musical sound that was once recorded in the deep Pacific, a sound nicknamed the bloop, was a mystery for years. It was too powerful for any known animal, yet it had the signature of a living thing. The sound was, in fact, the ancient systems of Atlantis performing a very rare, deep diagnostic cycle. For a few moments, the city's resonant hum increased in amplitude, a great slow vocalization from the deep, as the city's sleeping mind checked the integrity of its shields and the health of its central crystal, before settling back into its millennia of quiet slumber. Atlantis, in the end, is not a lost place to be found on a map. It is a future, a potential, waiting patiently to be remembered in the human heart. The story is not about finding a sunken city, but about reawakening the Atlantean principles of harmony, resonance, and peaceful coexistence within ourselves. The city is not a treasure to be plundered, but a blueprint for a better way of being, a gentle promise sleeping in the deep. The awakening of the city is not a sudden, dramatic rising from the sea. It is a slow, subtle, and gentle increase in the frequency and amplitude of its harmonic hum. It is a process that unfolds over centuries, a gradual turning up of the light. It is designed to be so slow and so gentle that it does not shock or frighten the surface world, but slowly and lovingly encourages it to harmonize with its song. The process begins deep within the central mountain, with the great crystal. After 12,000 years of slow, sleeping breaths, its internal light begins to pulse a little more brightly, a little more frequently. The change is infinitesimal at first, but it is the first stirring of a mind that is vaster than a nation, a slow, gentle heartbeat resuming in the eternal, silent darkness of the abyss. The first beings to notice this change are the great whales. Their ancient, epic songs, which have told the story of the sleeping city for millennia, begin to change. They become more complex, more joyful, and are filled with new layers of information. They are singing the song of the awakening. They are the heralds, the choir that announces, in a language of deep and beautiful music, that the long, quiet dream is coming to a peaceful end. On the surface, satellites that monitor the Earth's gravitational and magnetic fields begin to detect a tiny, almost imperceptible change. The city's faint energy shield, which has been stable for ages, is now slowly and gently expanding by just a few inches each year. It is a sign of the city's power levels slowly rising, its protective aura strengthening as it prepares to interact with the world once more. The soft, melodic chimes that have resonated from the city for 12,000 years. The city's gentle, sleeping music begin to shift. They become slightly more frequent, their patterns more complex and intricate. For the first time, the patterns are not just a simple, repeating lullaby. They begin to form recognizable mathematical sequences, a peaceful and universal language being broadcast into the deep. A gentle hello to any who might be listening. The deep sea silt and the marine snow that have accumulated on the city's outer domes over the ages begin very slowly to drift away. The city's awakening energy shield is gently repelling the sediment, allowing the clean, beautiful rose gold architecture to be seen clearly for the first time in millennia. The city is gently and quietly cleaning itself, preparing to be seen once more. On the city walls and in its silent parks, the ancient bioluminescent corals begin to respond to the increasing energy. They start to glow in new, intricate and shifting patterns of light. They are no longer just soft, ambient gardens. They are now vast, living displays, painting the city in silent, beautiful symphonies of light, their patterns conveying complex ideas and emotions. The city is beginning to express itself once more through the language of living light. Humanity's first contact with the awakening city is not a radio message or a visitation. It is a feeling. It is a subtle, global increase in dreams about peace, harmony, and the ocean. More and more people begin to have a shared experience in their sleep, a sense of a vast, loving, and ancient intelligence gently calling to them from the deep. It is an introduction made not to the conscious mind, but to the dreaming heart of the world. Then, one day, every radio telescope on Earth, at the very same moment, receives a single, perfect, and beautiful message. It is not in any human language. It is a complex mathematical formula, the key to a new and gentle physics, the blueprint for a clean, safe, and limitless form of energy based on the principle of resonance. The message is a gift, offered freely and without any explanation or demand. The information is a gift of pure understanding. There are no conditions, no demands for contact, and no instructions attached. The city simply offers the knowledge, trusting that the people on the surface will know what to do with it. It is an act of profound and selfless generosity, a gesture of peace from a civilization that operates on a level of wisdom that is far beyond our own. The gift is not just the formula, it is the trust that is placed in us. The great crystalline windows of the city's towers, which have been dark for ages, slowly begin to activate. They do not show the dark water outside. Instead, they begin to glow with gentle, abstract, and constantly shifting patterns of light and color. They are like vast, slow paintings made of pure energy, beautiful and calming forms that are the external expression of the city's serene, awakening thoughts. The city begins to gently warm the water in its immediate vicinity. Using its geothermal systems, it creates a small, local pocket of warmth in the freezing abyss. This new, gentle oasis of temperate water attracts a host of new and beautiful deep-sea creatures, and a small, thriving and unique ecosystem begins to bloom around the awakening city, a testament to its life-affirming energy. It begins to gently and passively broadcast the contents of its vast liquid libraries. The information is not sent as words or images, but as waves of pure understanding, accessible to any human being who can enter a deep and quiet meditative state. It is knowledge that is not learned, but is simply and directly understood, a gentle downloading of wisdom that is as easy and as natural as breathing. Through these gentle broadcasts of understanding, it begins to teach us what it knew. It teaches us how to reconnect with our own deep empathy, allowing us to understand the quiet, green language of plants and the ancient, emotional language of animals. It reminds us of a skill that we all possess but have long forgotten, the ability to listen to the silent voices of the world around us. The awakening is not an invasion of powerful beings. It is an invitation to remember our own potential. The city, in its quiet, gentle way, is inviting humanity to become a resonant partner in the guardianship of the planet. It does not seek to lead us, but to awaken the leader that has been sleeping within the human heart all along. It is a call to our own forgotten greatness. The city itself, after its long slumber, begins a slow and graceful process of self-repair. The beautiful crystalline walls, where they have been eroded by time, gently and slowly begin to regrow, their molecular structure knitting itself back together. The living architecture heals itself, the city's own life force gently mending the few and minor scars of its long, deep sleep. It shares the secret of orichalcum. The formula it broadcasts contains the key to creating the beautiful, self-adapting, corrosion-proof alloy. It reveals that the metal is not forged, but is grown, coaxed from seawater, and focused sunlight through a resonant process. It gives us the blueprint for a material that is not only useful, but is in perfect harmony with the natural world. Through its shared dreamscapes and its meditative broadcasts, it begins to share the true history of the Earth's consciousness. It is a story far older, stranger, and more beautiful than we ever knew. It tells of the slow, dreaming mind of the planet, of the great memory of the oceans, and of the many other gentle, quiet forms of consciousness that have been our silent partners on this world all along. The city does not offer to solve our problems for us. It knows that a solution that is given is not a true solution. Instead, it gently and lovingly offers us the tools and the perspectives that will allow us to solve our own problems. It offers us clean energy, a deeper understanding of ourselves, and a blueprint for a harmonious society. And then it quietly waits for us to choose to build a better world for ourselves. The great collective consciousness of the Atlanteans does not return to physical bodies. Its time of living in individual forms is long past. It chooses to remain as it is, a vast, unified and wise presence, a gentle guardian and a quiet teacher, existing as the living, resonant soul of the beautiful sleeping city. It is a parent, watching with love as its children on the surface learn to walk on their own. The beautiful, floating parks and gardens of the city, which had been dormant in the deep, slowly and gracefully begin to rise. Propelled by their own gentle gravitational fields, they ascend through the dark water and anchor themselves just beneath the ocean's surface. They become a chain of new, beautiful and self-sustaining garden islands, a gift of new life and new land for the surface world. The deep, resonant hum of the city begins to intentionally harmonize with the electrical power grids of the surface world. As it does, the energy flowing through our wires becomes subtly cleaner, more efficient, and more stable. The city is not overriding our systems, but is gently tuning them, easing the discordant frequencies and helping our own technology to work in a more harmonious and peaceful way. Through its growing connection with our collective consciousness, it gently reveals the locations of other, smaller, sleeping cities in the other great oceans of the world. It shows us that Atlantis was not unique, but was the heart of a global network of wisdom, a planetary civilization of peace that chose to go to sleep rather than to be lost in the disharmony of the last ice age. It teaches us not just new facts, but a new way of knowing. It guides us in how to perceive the world, not just with our 5 physical senses, but with our innate capacity for resonance. It teaches us to feel the harmony or disharmony of a situation, to sense the deep underlying patterns of reality, and to navigate our world with a deep and profound intuition. It shows us, by its own beautiful example, that technology and nature are not and never were opposites. It demonstrates that the highest technology is one that is indistinguishable from the natural world, a technology that grows, heals, and exists in a state of perfect, symbiotic grace with the planet that gives it life. It offers us a path back to the garden, a path paved with light and wisdom. The final and greatest stage of the city's awakening is to fulfill its ultimate purpose. It begins to use its vast, resonant power to turn the entire ocean of the world into a single, planetary-scale, liquid crystal library. All of the Earth's history, all of the planet's wisdom, is encoded into the very water that covers our world, a library of unparalleled scale, accessible to all who learn to listen. The presence of the city and its gentle wisdom does not create a new, dogmatic religion. It does not ask for worship or for followers. Instead, its peaceful and loving resonance fosters a deeper, quieter, and more personal spirituality within each human being. It encourages us to find our own unique and harmonious connection to the great conscious universe, not to follow a prescribed path. The city never fully rises from the sea. Its work can be done from its place of deep, quiet peace. It becomes a permanent and beloved part of our world, a silent, sleeping partner, its light a gentle glow in the deep, its song a quiet hum in the heart of the ocean. It becomes the planet's wise and gentle anchor, a constant and loving reminder of the peace we are all capable of creating. In a great and final act of gentle transformation, the city sends out a soft planetary-scale pulse of energy. This pulse subtly and harmlessly alters the crystalline structure of all the water on Earth, making it more vital, more life-affirming, and more resonant with the frequency of peace. The very water of the world is healed, and this healing flows into every living thing. The light from the city's great crystal and its glowing domes begins to be visible from the surface. It is not a bright, intrusive glare, but a soft, aurora-like glow that can be seen on clear nights, shimmering in the deep ocean. It is a beautiful and constant reminder of the gentle, loving, and powerful consciousness that has awakened to become our partner and our friend. Through its constant, gentle presence, it helps humanity to remember a long-forgotten part of our own consciousness. It reminds us that we are not separate from the world, but are a vital part of its song. It helps us to remember our own innate capacity for peace, for harmony, and for unconditional love. It does not give us anything new. It simply helps us to remember what we have always been. the very sound of the ocean waves begins to change. If you listen closely, you can now hear a faint, harmonic undertone in the rhythm of the surf, a soft, melodic hum that was not there before. The ocean is now singing the city's song, a planetary lullaby of peace and harmony for all the world. The waves themselves are now a carrier of this gentle, healing resonance. The re-emergence of Atlantis into the world's consciousness is so gentle and so slow that many people don't even notice it as a single event. The world just becomes, day by day, a slightly calmer, slightly wiser, and slightly more loving place. The change happens not with a bang, but with a gentle, collective, and peaceful exhalation, a letting go of old fears and disharmonies. The final message from the city is not in words or formulas, or even in dreams. It is in a feeling, a shared and global feeling of profound and unconditional peace that settles over the world like a soft blanket. It is the feeling of being perfectly and completely at home, a feeling of safety, of love, and of a deep and abiding rightness to all things. And so we learn that Atlantis was never truly lost. It was just waiting, with the infinite patience of the deep ocean, for us to become quiet enough and peaceful enough to finally hear its song. It was not a place to be found, but a state of being to be remembered, and its gentle, loving hum is now the new, quiet heartbeat of a peaceful world. And so our wandering through the quiet, sleeping city comes to a close. Our gentle journey into the deep, resonant heart of the ocean now begins to settle into a deep and profound stillness. We drifted through silent, glowing boulevards and listened for a song that has been humming for 12,000 years. We imagined a world where technology and nature were one, a civilization built not on power, but on the gentle and beautiful principles of harmony. We felt the profound peace of a people who chose to become a sleeping dream, a quiet promise preserved in the deep. The same beautiful, harmonious resonance that kept the sleeping city safe in the abyss is the same gentle energy that holds you now. The same deep peace that is the essence of the Atlantean way is a peace that resides within your own quiet heart. You are a part of this gentle cosmic song, so now let yourself go completely. Let the story dissolve and allow yourself to sink into the deep, calm, and healing waters of your own sleep. Be carried like a soft, glowing light, drifting down into a place of perfect peace and stillness. There is nothing more to do and nowhere else to be. There is only rest now. Good night.